You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Listen, I'm a huge fan of Pete Golding, but with the knowledge that he is the number 2 highest paid assistant in the country and the top assistant in the SEC, that absolutely changes everything. Again, I'm Steven Willis. So this situation with Pete Golding is interesting. This is real. This is big. The expectations that you had going into this season just got amplified and through the roof. Sam Hutchins from the Clarion Ledger, he stops by from time to time. He's a great friend of the pod. He tweeted out this: Ole Miss defensive coordinator Pete Golding had a new deal that put him at the top of the SEC for assistants, according to latest USA Today network documents. And the top in the SEC, the only one that makes more of him in the entire country is Jim Knowles, the defensive coordinator at Penn State. Kind of funny that 8 out of the 10 highest paid assistant coaches are defensive coordinators as well. But Pete Golding is the highest paid assistant in the Southeastern Conference. That is absolutely nuts. Listen, I think he makes $2.65 million per year or something like that. When I was at Ole Miss, Ed Orgeron was there. He was the head coach. Ed Orgeron made a fourth to a third of the salary of what Pete Golding makes. A head coach at that time in 2006 or whatever it is made 1/3 to 1/4 of what an assistant coach, a defensive coordinator, is making right now. I will say that Ole Miss has come a long way. When you have a head coach that is making close to $10 million and you have a defensive coordinator that is the highest paid assistant in the Southeastern Conference, Ole Miss football is trending up. But when you're dealing with all this, you better win. You better win pretty big. 10 games, 3 out of the last 4 years. That's kind of the plateau, the expectation of coaches that make that much money. Pete Golding defensively last year was absolutely unreal. They were a couple of busts away from 11-1. One of the plays that Florida scored a touchdown on, you had a player go down with a knee injury. You had a bust against Kentucky early in the season. It was real clear to get to 11-1. Everybody wants to talk about the offensive line being a problem. That's only one factor that went in. There were other plays that went on. Pete Golding, though, this defense, it needs to be elite. It should be elite. If you're getting paid that much money, the defense better be elite. At $2.65 million per year, the defense better be elite. When you make that amount of money, the defense should carry the team over the course of the season. There should not be busts. You should have an elite dominant unit. You should be able to be very good back in the secondary. That is a lot of money, especially for Ole Miss to pay for a defensive coordinator. I'm a huge Pete Golding guy. I think he's great at what he does, and I like his scheme. I like the way they use linebackers and they do hybrid type stuff. I like the Nick Saban stuff that got incorporated into this defense. I like that this defense and Pete Golding has a clear identity of the direction that they want to go. But $2.65 million, that changes things. That's playoff numbers. There's no margin for error. Essentially, there's no benefit of the doubt that is going to be handed. There's no, well, that just didn't work out type deal. At least they won 8 games. That is off the table. That is completely gone. When you make that much money, it is all about getting the W. It is all about trying to figure it out, be an elite defense. That front seven, they better have the production of the 2024 team. The 2023 team against Georgia can't happen when you're making $2.65 million. Again, a huge fan of Pete Golding, but the fact that this information got out changed everything as far as the expectations go with this defense. Everybody talks about the secondary could be a problem. They might be a little bit ahead of the game at corner, but at safety could be a little bit of an issue. No, not now. At this point, figure it out. You are paid handsomely to figure it out, and he will likely figure it out. Pete Golding, to my knowledge, has not had a bad defense since he has been a defensive coordinator. Whether it's UTSA or Alabama or coming to Ole Miss, he has not had a bad defense. The worst defense he has had at Ole Miss is in 2023. That defense won 3 or 4 games for Ole Miss that year. The only slip up they really had was against the Georgia Bulldogs when they got boat raced in Athens. Pete Golding's going to figure this out, but Pete Golding now has to figure it out. That's the point. You have to get this done. You have to have a competitive unit on the defensive side of the ball. There's not a situation where we will allow a year to rebuild. When you get paid that much money, we're going to talk about you making that much money. In the era of NIL, the players and the coaches and everybody's making money. The more money you make, the more that is expected of you. That's the way it is. You want the trickle down from college football to from pro football to college football. There it is. The higher paid you get, the more money you make, the more expectations you have. You don't get to have rebuilding years when you make that much money. Good football coach. I think he's going to figure this out. But Sam Hutchins from the Clarion Ledger reported he's the top paid assistant coach in the entire Southeastern Conference, and he's the number 2 highest paid assistant coach in the entire country. The only one that makes more than him is Jim Knowles, who is the defensive coordinator that got hired by Penn State. We'll see exactly how it goes, how they line up, the questions getting answered. You know, we are hyper-focused on the secondary and the safety position right now. But when you look at that and you see what could potentially happen, this contract, this amount of money, it is time to put the expectations on Pete Golding to match. You know, in our final segment, the wide receiver room might be the toughest room to crack for a young player, but that doesn't mean they're not loaded with talent. We'll break down the group and what makes it so dangerous, and we will do Ole Miss trivia right after that, right after this. So stick around. As the summer winds down, there's something nice about getting into a routine that you love, and Wayfair makes it easy to set yourself up for the season ahead. From bedding and linens to storage solutions for every room, Wayfair is a one-stop shop to refresh your home. I recently grabbed a recliner from Wayfair because of my surgery, and now it has been the perfect addition to my living room furniture and my home. In fact, even after this, I still use it, and it has become absolutely indispensable. Those recliners can be absolutely perfect and game-changing for you. This is the perfect time to get your home ready, whether it's organization or upgrading a workspace or making weeknight dinners easier. Get organized, refreshed, and back to a routine for way less. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop for all things home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold prediction and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on the NFL season predictions, whether you're calling for the MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, to crown your Super Bowl champion before week 1. It all kicks off this weekend. So take a flyer on the MVP race. I'm going with Jaden Daniels, seriously. Or maybe you can crown a champion in August. I like Buffalo. I think this is their year. Or parlay your division winner dark horses. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning for your future bets now, because Future Day is just one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. Thank you for making Locked On Ole Miss your go-to source for Ole Miss sports. We pride ourselves in offering the most comprehensive perspectives. It's why we're the front door of Ole Miss. If you don't believe me, Google Ole Miss podcast. We're like 80% of that page. So don't forget to subscribe, like, or comment. On the podcast apps, if you do that, subscribe to the podcast side. Leave a 5-star review. It all helps the show out, and it's completely free. Your support means the world to us. If you want a little bit more, our Insiders program, the link to join is down below, a 14-day free trial and the easiest cancellation ever. For your second listen, check out the Portal Show. Brian Smith has the latest rumors, portal entries, and signings. Be the most informed fan on the rapid changes to college football's landscape. Find the Portal on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Hotty toddy, everybody. And remember, analytics is just the old English word that means bad football. We'll see you tomorrow.